All right, go for it.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to our fourth installment of Digital Content Marketing, a webinar mini series. Lori Hybe and I, Will Jurgensen, are incredibly happy to be back with you here on this Friday afternoon. And today, our focus is hashtags and how to use hashtags. So, we are going to do a deep dive into hashtags and some best practices as well. Today's agenda, as you can see here, is first and foremost, what the heck is a hashtag? Great place to start. Why are hashtags important to your media posts? So not only what are they, but why should we be utilizing them? And then lastly here, we're going to wrap it up with some hashtag best practices.
All right, excited to share some insights. Let's start with what is a hashtag? A hashtag, as some of our more veteran individuals may remember it and know that it's referred to as a pound sign. What's important to know is that it's written without any spaces or any sort of underscores that can actually break the hashtag up. It doesn't really matter if it's in caps or all caps or some of the caps. That doesn't have a factor. One of the easiest ways that I like to illustrate and educate individuals on what hashtag, the purpose of a hashtag, is for the means of filtering and organizing your content. So if you think about a social media post that you're on, and let's say the hashtag Milwaukee was used, then if you click on the word or that hashtag Milwaukee, it's going to show you all the posts that are using that same hashtag. It's a great way to unite conversations. So by events, I see it often in events when someone's encouraging to share the content related to the event. Obviously, disasters, of times of emergency, holidays are huge. Specific topics like shows, TV shows often are using hashtags nowadays. Yeah, anything to add to that, Will?
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to kind of just touch on the fact that, the best way to think about hashtags is a way to connect, your social media content to a specific topic, specific event, theme, or even a conversation, right? So it's a way to stay on top of relevant information as well. And with that, hashtags also, ultimately make it easier to discover posts around those specific topics as well, right? Because hashtags aggregate all social media content that are utilizing that same hashtag. So it's a way to find content related to your own source or specific content as well.
Will, do you know when the hashtag first came to light?
I do, actually. Some research has given me that knowledge recently. It actually started back in 2007 at the headquarters of Twitter, as you can imagine, in the summer of 2007. And it originated on Twitter, but as we will discuss here very soon, it is utilized on a number of different social platforms.
Absolutely. So speaking of Twitter, let's talk about that a little bit. So as the originator of the hashtag, this is the place that is probably used often they've actually got some filtering specifically to dive into their platform. Because Twitter has a cap on the character count, you do want to be conscious of how many hashtags or the length of the words or the hashtag phrase itself, not only just for the sake of your post, but also when people are sharing your content or retweeting your content. You can definitely use the Explorer, as we have on the screenshot here, to dive in and see what are some of the hot hashtags being used right now.
Yeah, and I would just add to that, excuse me, what you won't find on Facebook, but you find on Twitter and you find on Instagram is that you can find other people's content who you're not connected with the most easy through hashtags. We'll talk about it here in a second on Facebook, how our private accounts don't necessarily allow that, but this is a great way to see people who you aren't directly connected with on Twitter, the type of trends that are taking place.
Nice. Another place that you're going to see hashtags is on Facebook. One of the things to be aware of is that because Facebook has a level of security where you can minimize who's seeing what type of information on your account, the level of privacy, I guess, is that if you want to be found for hashtags on Facebook, make sure that your content is public then. Otherwise, it will be hard for people to find that. Just like on Twitter, you can identify what hashtags are trending on Facebook.
Yeah, absolutely. And if your account is private, what you're going to find as you're searching through hashtags are mostly influencers and their content and their posts that's online. But it is a great way to educate yourself. It's a great way to continue to learn and see the most relevant information and content that's being put out.
Now, Instagram's definitely a hot channel where there's a lot of growth opportunity. And you can see on the screenshot on the left, if you use a hashtag on Instagram, you're going to immediately get a lot of activity. Often Instagram users have the option to just follow a hashtag in their feed. So then they're getting posts that relate directly to that specific hashtag. So what you'll want to do in Instagram is identify what are some trending hashtags specifically to your area of expertise that you want to be using. You want to look for hashtags that have a high volume of posts because that means a lot of people are using it. But and you also want to look at some opportunities for something that's unique to you and your industry as well.
Yeah, in order to really kind of find what's trending on Instagram, you just want to utilize the Explore option within your account, and that's where you can type in really any type of hashtag you want, and you're going to find the most relevant information on that.
And I do like that it shows you how many other posts are using that same hashtag.
Mm-hmm.
So LinkedIn has definitely grown with the use of hashtags. I mean, there's some great content on there. We've got a link in the slide here that you can see. As Will's showing on this screenshot, that you can sort by hashtags within your network or just see all hashtags. One of the things that I really like about LinkedIn and their hashtags, that if you're using a hashtag on one of your posts and it starts to trend, you're going to get a notification that your content is trending under a certain hashtag. What I've read as far as some best practices for LinkedIn hashtags is to keep it to 3. I do like that they give recommendations right in their publishing tool right there, right on LinkedIn.
Yeah, and this is an area that I think people have been a little bit more hesitant to utilize hashtags, but as we've noticed recently within our clients and with just our general use of LinkedIn, the amount of people utilizing hashtags on LinkedIn has grown enormously over the last couple of years, and it is a great way to continue to spread your content and stay connected with other relevant content, especially since LinkedIn has, a lot of different algorithms that they have in place as to whether or not your content is going to show up. By utilizing hashtags, it's going to give your content an opportunity to show up in more places and ultimately get a larger audience.
Absolutely. One of the things that they're doing, I don't know if you've paid close attention when you looked at LinkedIn, on the lower left-hand corner, you'll actually see some recommended trending hashtags or things that LinkedIn is learning about your behavior, and they're giving you some recommended hashtags to follow. So now that you've got a little high-level overview on how to use hashtags in some of the channels, let's talk about why is it important to use hashtags.
Yeah, for sure. We're just going to go kind of top to bottom here, and we're going to kind of explore a little bit deeper into each of these. First and foremost, it's to increase engagement with your followers. Go ahead, Lori.
At the end of the day, there's an opportunity for others to start following you because of the fact that you're leveraging specific hashtags, and because you have new followers and more people engaging with your content, it's going to encourage some of your current followers to start engaging with the information that you're publishing. And it's also giving them a quick overview and a teaser on what your information is about.
Absolutely. And ultimately, it's about you taking part in the conversation online, right? So it allows your followers to see that you're taking part in the conversation, and it makes that content visible, within those specific hashtags as well.
And obviously, it's a way to generate new followers. We spoke about that a little bit. And one of the things that I really like about it is a way to simplify the searching process for you. So if you're smart about the hashtags that you're using, it makes it easier for others to find your content or your expertise, which is then leading into building your brand, and more people are able to find you because of the fact that you're using hashtags.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a very effective way to promote your business and drive the conversation that's at the center of what it is that you want to discussing. This is turning a company slogan or a team slogan into a hashtag is a great way to expand your audience, and really make it as something that people recognize as a part of your brand as well.
As far as being able to figure out who some of your competition is that you may not be aware of. So if you post certain hashtags, let's say we're using hashtag digital marketing, we can click on hashtag digital marketing and see everybody else that's using that hashtag and get an idea for some of the content that some of our competitors are publishing out there.
Most certainly. Kind of going back to building your brand, this is a great way to take, a specific campaign and utilize that across the hashtag platform as well. What I think is the most important thing here as we discuss hashtags, and specifically within building your brand and also creating campaigns, is just consistency. I mean, if you just have one content post and you only utilize that hashtag once, it's going to come and go and be gone. So I think a couple of the important ones specifically that tie to your business or organization should be used consistently.
Yeah, I see a lot of people trying to get creative with the type of content they're publishing right now, and creating campaigns and promotions, but creating a unique hashtag specifically to your brand, and then encouraging people to share the post as part of that campaign can definitely help to build a brand.
Absolutely.
And then the last one is, it's a way to localize your content. So oftentimes when we're posting stuff, we're using hashtag MKE or hashtag Milwaukee to just kind of centralize or localize the post that we're putting out there. All right, some best practices for hashtags. We're going to dive into each of these, but Will, you want to give a high-level overview?
Yeah, absolutely. As you can imagine, you always want to start with the number sign, which has since 2007 completely taken on a identity of its own. Make sure your accounts are public, as we discussed, specifically within Facebook. Don't string too many words together. You see a lot of hashtags that are almost a paragraph long sometimes, and not only is it kind of like a quiz to decipher what the heck it is that they're saying in there, but you really lose all value by overdoing your hashtags. Most specifically here is you want to use relevant and specific hashtags, right? So the ones that are trending, things that are relevant to the current, it's not so much the evergreen content that we discuss a lot, but hashtags should be relevant. And lastly, limit the number of hashtags you use. I mean, I'm sure we have all seen social posts across all platforms where they are overdoing how many hashtags they're using, and it really kind of just takes away from the message itself at times.
Yeah, that's important. So that being said, just kind of reinforcing this a little bit is, don't make it super long and hard to read. I know I see a lot of people doing this just more for humor than anything else. The other thing that is really important that's kind of thrown on here is to don't publish spelling errors. You want to make sure that you're using a hashtag that is spelled correctly, because likely that's going to be the way that you're getting found online. And definitely don't use too many hashtags in one post. I think it's a bit overdone, and you're not adding value. You're just trying to basically hijack someone else's content, and with the hope of getting found online. It's not. You want to still be able to provide high value content, and remember, using your hashtag as a means to filter and organize the information that you're publishing online. So overdoing it is not providing value.
For sure. And I would just add to that the language that happens before the hashtag is still more important than the hashtag itself at times. So as we can see from our examples here, there really isn't any content language that even describes what the heck it is that this post is trying to demonstrate, more as opposed to just the overabundance of hashtags being used.
Don't use hashtags that are not related to what the post is about. You know, I kind of look at this as no different than early search engine optimization, where people were keyword stuffing, and everyone want to have Britney Spears on their website, so that if you typed in Britney Spears, your website would show up. But that doesn't help you, and that doesn't help the person that's searching for it. So make sure that you're using hashtags that are relevant to the content that's being provided. Otherwise, if someone clicks on this hashtag, they see your content, and you're not providing value, or you're not providing the information that they were looking for, you're devaluing your brand, and they're going to not be interested in following you.
Absolutely. You nailed it.
Okay, we're going to see if this works.
Give it. Let's try.
All right, if you don't love Jimmy Fallon and Justin Timberlake, I don't know if you should be on this webinar. Let's see. Okay, so hopefully you enjoyed that little 2 minutes of SNL on your Friday afternoon. There's a number of tools that are out there that will help you with your hashtag usage. So we're gonna walk through a couple of these real quick. First one is Hashtagify. You log in and you can just plug in a couple words, you know, one phrase or whatever, and then it's going to give you recommendations based on the one phrase that you have, so you have some diversity within your hashtags that you're using. Another tool that's available is Twitonomy. Now you have to log in with your Twitter account to have access to this, and this is a freemium, so there's a free information and some paid information, but it's going to give you a lot of information specifically associated with your Twitter account, as far as what hashtags are being used within your ecosystem, and then Twitter on a global level, and give you some recommendations as well.
So Lori, why would it be important to be using relevant and popular hashtags?
Great question, Will. I would say make sure you're using stuff that other people are using, because that means that there's a demand for it to some extent. I mean, you don't necessarily want to be using words and phrases that are not relevant to you and your offering and your content, but you want to be using things that align with the content you're providing, but also are of value to others. So if there's people that are following certain hashtags, your content can kind of fall into that mix a little bit.
Awesome.
A question that I get often is about registering your hashtag. So there are tools out there. Twubs is a site that you can go to register your hashtag. That means to some extent you have ownership of it. I have not really seen any legal action taken about, or with someone that has used the hashtag incorrectly. But it is there to be done. And then basically you're saying, I'm the rightful owner of this hashtag. Another tool, it's available, and you can just go to Google and type in hashtag generator. Allhashtag.com. This is a free tool that also has some paid services. You just type in a word or a phrase, and it's going to just give you tons of information and recommendations. So for this example, we typed in the word marketing, and it just kind of shot us 30 different words that we can use that are being used, or phrases for hashtags.
Yeah, it also populates the most popular ones as well. So this is a great way to see, depending on what type of, say you're going to an event or you are having a meeting of some sort that you want to show online. It's a great way to just say, okay, hey, what are some unique ways of hashtags that I can utilize around that?
So in summary, we covered what is a hashtag, why are hashtags important for your social media posts, and then we shared some hashtag best practices. In addition, we documented some of the sources that we gathered some information on if you want to do a little bit of additional research on your own. So HubSpot, if you're not familiar with them, they have some fantastic content such as Hootsuite, and as referenced, allhashtag.com. All right, so if this is your first time watching our webinar, welcome. If you've watched a handful of them, welcome back. keystoneclick.com/webinars. If you go there, you can subscribe to view all of our past webinars, which at the moment include blogging, podcasting, and SEO basics. In addition, you can see a list of our upcoming webinars, which you'll have to register per webinar to attend. Next week, we're going to be talking about how to prepare your business for market revival from a marketing and business standpoint. And then the following week, we're diving into paid advertising basics, so pay-per-click advertising. And I realize that I'm a little ahead here as well. And the 15th, May 15th, I'm really excited for this one, Marketing Secrets with Agency Owners. So this is going to be a panel discussion with agency owners from across the country, and they're going to be sharing some of their best practices and tips and tools for you to be marketing your business during COVID-19. All right, that being said, let's open it up for questions.